while starting the chapter of functions, what we have seen a very important property that domain and the range are the two crucial things that's there for a function. So in this part, as well as we are doing trigonometric functions and that to an added word of inverse, so we'll have to a bit skeptical about what the function is. So are we a bit more skeptical? Are we a bit more cautious towards the definition or the understanding? So answer of all these different questions will be answered into this part, including principal values and domains of different inverse trigonometric functions. So let's start with those and try to understand how do we define, how do we write all the possible inverse trigonometric functions and their applications. Starting of the thing is a general introduction. So let's see. As we all know, the chapter that we are reading of and understanding of today is ITF, inverse trigonometric functions. So we are going to do of a chapter whose name is known to us. So what we will do, we'll try to find out the existence, how it is named, how it is shown off, and that is what we'll read of in general introduction. So in general introduction, let's see. As you can see, this is read as sine inverse, cos inverse, tan inverse, and these are written as the normal trigonometric ratios sine but with a power of -1 and then x, which gives them a name of sine inverse, or sometimes it can also be read and written as arc sin x, arc cos x. So what is this? Let's try and understand. These all are nothing but some values of the angles such that I have a value m, which is supposed equal to sine inverse of x. So what does that mean? This means that the value of sine m is x. Now if I am considering a triangle that is in which one of the angle is m, so I can say that the sine in this triangle that is opposite against the hypotenuse, that is x over 1, will be the ratio of opposite against the hypotenuse, and this whole thing can be written as root over of 1 minus x squared. This is how we try to define and understand. Now if I am trying to write cos inverse x, I'll do same thing for a value whose equation is that value equals to cos inverse x. Similarly for tan inverse x. These are also written as arc sin x, arc cos x, and can also be written as arc tan x. Similar things can be repeated of for the other three trigonometric ratios which are not there onto the screen. Now there's a note. If there are two angles, one positive and the other one negative, having the same numerical value, then positive angle should be taken. This is a generic view, and you'll get to know the reason behind this when we'll go deep inside the information and knowledge of domain and range of the inverse trigonometric functions. Now, this is the graph of arc sin x, or you can say that sine inverse x. Let's see what is into this. On the x-axis, I plot the values of real numbers. And what are they? Suppose y is equals to sine inverse x. So as we know that this is a value of an angle and this is a value which sine would have taken at that angle. So this would be plotted along x, and on the y-axis I'll get output in terms of angle, which is properly shown off onto the axis. Now what axis says? Axis says that you can have a range of positive as well as negative value. So if you have a positive value, you will plot it obviously to the above side of 0, and if you have negative values, you will plot it below 0. And the functionality that is shown over here, you'll get to understand how we get this kind of functionality when we'll read and understand the nuances of sine inverse, cos inverse, and various other factors. This is for the arc cos x, or I can say that similarly cos inverse of x. This also says that cos inverse of x is ranging from -1 to 1 in the set of values which may go inside this, but the value that the function is giving as an output is going to range from 0 to pi. So this is how we define arc cos inverse x, and on this similar basis I can have all the 6 trigonometric ratios defined into their inverse format once we are done and have understood all the different concepts that are there in this chapter. So here in this, we have learned and understood the domain and range for the functions. So using the property of these functions in the coming more parts, we'll try to understand how to draw graphs, how to be much more equivalent in understanding that if something is given onto the left hand side, what has to be on the right hand side. So all these relations, all these functionalities and all these applications of ITF is what is going to be followed into the next parts. So stay tuned and we'll get back with much more interesting facts about ITF.